So for days now, we've all been hearing, about these stories of just regular citizens getting pulled over, harassed just because they look like an immigrant. And many have been citizens for 5, 10 years now. And so this is one incident that has happened. And it really, really is the irony of a Trump supporter that voted for Trump this time getting pulled over and harassed about his immigration status just because he looks like an immigrant.
And we spoke with is a U.S. citizen. He provided us with documentation of his legal status. He says this experience has shaken his faith in the immigration enforcement efforts of President Donald Trump, for whom he voted, he says. This is what Yenzi Machado managed to record on his phone Wednesday. He says while he was driving to work with two other men, he was stopped by ICE agents on Lamont Drive in Manassas, a short distance from his home. He says he was confused by what was happening, why agents surrounded the pickup truck. He spoke with our sister station, Telemundo 44 reporter Rosbelis Quinones, who was the first to report his story.
And they just got out of the car with the guns in the hands and say, turn off the car, give me the keys, open the window. And, everything was really fast.
Machado says the agents said the name of a man they were seeking for a deportation order, someone who had given Machado's home address. He said that was not his name and he did not know anyone by that name. He offered to show them this, his real ID compliant Virginia driver's license. It has a star in the upper right corner and requires proof of lawful status.
They didn't ask me for any ID. I was telling the officer if I can give him the ID, but he said that just keep my hands up, not moving. And then after that, he told me to get out of the car, and then he put the handcuffs on me. And then he went to me and said, how did I get into this country? And if I was waiting for court or if I have any case. And I told him I was an American citizen. And he looked at his other partner like, smiling, like saying, can you believe this guy? Because he asked the other guy, do you believe him?
Machado said he was uncuffed and immediately released after showing his driver's license. The two men with him were taken into custody. He does not know why. The incident has caused him to reflect.
Because, like I say, I was Trump supporter. I voted for Trump last elections, but because I thought it was going to be the things, like be pointless, like just go against criminals, not every illegal Hispanic looking like that they will assume we are illegals.
So, do you think that's what they're doing now?
That's what they're doing now. They're just following Hispanic people looking like.
And that is what's happening now. Well, I'm glad you finally recognize that this is, what they're doing, but you should have known. You should have known. Now, will he vote for Trump again? That's the question. So, with all that being said, here is the thing that most people don't do. You didn't hear him say anything, well, I'm going to get my lawyer and I am going to find out about this because, what do they do when they're harassed in this nature? What do they do? What can you do? Let's take a look at that. If you grew up in a community like I did, then this is just basically the norm. But as time progresses and people learn their rights and their laws, people fight back. The problem is when we fight back and we sue the police department, it's our own tax dollars that pay us for that. I don't understand why there isn't more financial accountability for the individual officers that are committing the offense. Why do my state tax dollars get punished when that could have went towards a rec center? If somebody sues the police department for $100,000, it doesn't come out of the end of the pockets of the actual offender. 9 times out of 10, they don't even get fired. They just get moved to another place if anything happens to them at all. Because they like settling things in lawsuits. And there's no infraction on the cops. So he can go about his business the next day and do the same thing. And the city pay for it with your tax dollars. I never understood that. Something's got to change in that. So when this man who is of age did not mention anything about his own civil rights and suing whoever that officer was, I don't understand that. So this is what's got to change, because this is what's changed in my neighborhood. When they pull us over now, they say, excuse me, you got power call? You got your cameras on? I got my camera on. You know, we asking all kind of questions now. We don't just sit there and get out the car. No. No. We exercise every right. So maybe, I'm just saying, that's the name of this program. I'm just saying, y'all should educate yourselves a little better, because they coming for you just because of your color, just like they do the black community. And they've always done it to y'all, but now, just like they did with us in the black communities with the stop and search, now they're making it a priority. Now you're the predator. Now they've made you the hunt, the game. So listen to this video closely and pass it on to anybody you may know that may be a legal citizen or an illegal citizen, because you still have rights and you have to exercise them in the correct manner. Pay attention to what you can do if you are harassed unlawfully.
I am a 23-year-old. I was born here on Long Island. I am a graduate of Brentwood High School. I am a victim. I am a victim because of my race and my ethnicity. As a young Hispanic man, I was profiled and singled out by ICE agents on June 3rd, 2025. As I was coming from my boss's house in Westbury, ICE agents stopped the car in which I was a passenger and demanded that I provided ID. When I asked my question, they weren't answering it. I was targeted as they said they were looking for someone. I did nothing wrong, and still I was singled out and detained by ICE, who did not have a warrant and did not have any reason to even question me. This has to stop. They made me turn off my phone and stop recording, and then searched me and took my belongings out of my pocket. The agents would not identify themselves and would not tell me their name and badge number. Just because I am a man of color and I am Hispanic, I was made to feel as though I was a criminal. How I was treated was wrong. ICE is bad enough. But for local police to join in on violating rights should not be allowed. I am emotionally harmed, and what they did to me can't be taken away.
It was deeply disturbing, and I handed it over to Mr. Brewington because it was a clear violation of rights. I was sent this deeply disturbing video, which I urge every American to watch. In it, a Latino U.S. citizen, Elzon Limas, is harassed by ICE officers while simply going about his day on Long Island. He was stopped without provocation, without an explanation, and without a judicial warrant. And I might add that I was a police officer for 20 years, and I understand what police can do, what they can't do, and what the rights of average citizens are. So I speak from that standpoint. The only justification offered was that he looked like someone that they were looking for. That is not law enforcement. That's racial profiling, plain and simple. Violation of civil liberties. And as a former police officer and detective with over 20 years, I know exactly what lawful policing looks like and what it does not look like. And this was not it. Under New York State law, individuals are not required to identify themselves to law enforcement unless there's probable cause for a crime. This is not Nazi Germany, where somebody can walk up to you and, as in communist countries, and say, give me your papers. ICE has no such cause in this case. This isn't just wrong, it's unconstitutional. For federal agents to open up a car door without consent, search a U.S. citizen without cause, refuse to identify themselves, physically put their hands in his pocket, shut off a video, that he was taking just to protect himself, this isn't public safety. This is behavior of a police state. The message to the Trump administration and ICE is this. This incident is yet another example of this administration's abusing of its power. It is an abuse of power, targeting both citizens and non-citizens. Remember, this was a U.S. citizen who committed no crime. And they are weaponizing ICE to terrorize our communities with no oversight and no accountability. Threatening a man for knowing his rights. You can watch the video and you will see what provoked this. What provoked it was the fact that this young man understood his rights. And he was told by the officer after he reclaimed his rights, well, we could do this one way or another way. We all know what that means. He was he was threatened for that. And that's a direct attack on his liberty and due process and the rule of law. Government's job is to protect our rights, not trample on them. ICE owes Mr. Lemus a public apology. The agents involved must be identified, investigated, and disciplined. Let me be clear, this is not Arizona. In New York State, we do not tolerate racial profiling, and we will not stand by while federal agents overstep their bounds. Our communities will not be bullied because of the way we look, the names we carry, or the language we speak. You know, we hear all this talk about immigration, and we hear people in a very hypocritical fashion talk about, no, this is not about anything. It's just about going by the law. You know, if people cared about the law, and if this president cared about the law, he wouldn't pardon 1,500 people who tried to overthrow our government on January 6th. So we know this is not about the law. This is about the browning of America. That's what is it about. And now they send out race soldiers, which many of these ICE agents were January 6 people who were hired by ICE to come out and inflict this violation of rights onto our people. So I'm calling for a federal civil rights investigation into this incident and a full public review of ICE's activities on Long Island. I also urge New York State legislature to pass the New York for All Act, a critical bill that will prohibit law enforcement from acting as immigration agents and help ensure what happened to Mr. Lemus can never happen again.
So when something like this happens to you, I guarantee you it didn't just happen to you. I guarantee you there are class action lawsuits out there that you can join. And when the numbers add up and when you are able to identify these agents, things happen. They take time. They do. But to sit back and just go on TV and be like, yeah, this happened to me, man, that's messed up. No. You have to be a part of your own rescue to save your civil rights in America. Otherwise, this will become the norm. And trust me, we the people are winning the war when it comes to legislation and the Constitution being upheld in the courts. We're losing a lot of these battles out in the streets. You're getting harassed. You're getting wrongfully profiled. But you have to be diligent. You have to stand your ground and stay the course. You don't want to just roll through life and keep your head down. Oh, I hope that don't happen again. You got to fight. You got to fight.